We're in Mangoplah in southern New South Wales, just south of Wagga, looking at some Sakura trials that we've established to compare how the product performs against various competitor products for weed control, particularly targeting annual ryegrass and toadrush. This trial was established in late May, sown with knife point and trailing harrows, and incorporated within 24 hours of application. This trial compares Sakura to a range of herbicide options which are widely adopted in this area, namely mixes of Trifling Avedex, Lowgran and Boxer Gold. Currently we're standing in the untreated control and we're targeting a population of around about 200 plants per square metre of both toadrush and annual ryegrass. The toadrush here germinated quite late in the crop, so some of the treatments that didn't have quite as good a residual didn't pick up as much toadrush. And the annual ryegrass in this area has quite a range of herbicide resistance issues. So this population here has resistance to FOP and DIM herbicides, as well as group B sulfonylureas, and as you'll see in the trial, the Lowgran here has been very ineffective. This treatment here is Sakura, applied at 118 grams per hectare as per the label, and as you can see, weed control has been fairly outstanding. There's very little to no toadrush here at all, and at the moment we're at about 150 days since application. So 5 months down the track, the product still appears to be working. Any ryegrass that has come through is quite stunted and is generally only have one tiller. And as you can see, we're starting to get this bronzing effect of the lower leaves, and the roots are quite small and undeveloped. So that plant is actually still sucking up a bit of Sakura that's in the soil, even 150 days after application. We are starting to see some very late toadrush, but generally speaking the weed control here has been within the vicinity of 95%. We're looking here at Lowgran at 35 grams. This has been quite a standard treatment in the area for a number of years, but as you can see here, the ryegrass has developed quite strong resistance to the product. So as we peel back the crop, we see that ryegrass numbers here are quite significant. All the plants are fully tilled. There's a lot of toadrush still in here, and really this product has only really reduced the weed levels by about 20%. I'm standing here in another of the commercial standards. This treatment is 1.2 litres of Trifling and 1.6 litres of Avedex in a tank mix. This is quite a standard brew for this area, particularly where knife points and harrows are used. As you can see, the level of control for ryegrass has been okay. We're seeing about 60 to 70% control. However, the toadrush, it has had very little effect on the toadrush, and we've got quite a population here still. The next treatment, which has become quite popular in the last few years since it came to market, is Boxer Gold at 2.5 litres. Again, it has done quite a reasonable job. There are a few ryegrass escapes here, and obviously its lack of residual has meant that some toadrush has come through quite late as well. Generally, this would be probably acceptable, but I'd imagine that they'd need to come back in a commercial situation with a post-emergent clean-up. This site here at Mangoplah has exhibited a relatively high level of ryegrass pressure, and the 118 grams of Sakura on its own has given a very high level of control. And when we compare the level of control here to the pressure that we're seeing in the untreated control, you see the control given by Sakura on ryegrass and toadrush has been very good.
Sakura looks as though it has the goods from this trial here. We've had our typical district recommendations with Trifling, Avedex, Rifle, Lowgran type mixes, and Sakura thrown in, and certainly Sakura is up at the top of the tree, it appears to be. Boxer Gold looks good. Sakura looks probably better. What we've noticed here is the length of season control. In a wet year that we've just come through, the chemicals had a long residual compared to many other products that are here. I guess the other thing in a wet year is the crop safety that we've noticed. It just hasn't touched the crop at all, so that's very important to us. Sakura will have a huge fit across the district. We've got our share of ryegrass resistance problems through here, so obviously that's probably the #1 fit, but it seems to have a very broad spectrum of weed control. Toad rush is a major weed for us, and it's held up this year, especially in a wet year. It's held up extremely well, so I think it'll fit into a sort of knockdown, pre-emergent, shut the gate type program, taking into account resistance management, weed spectrum and crop safety, where we are aiming to plant early, probably perhaps the middle of March in majority of times into early April. Well, that length of residual control is going to be very important.
The whole paddock was sprayed with Box of Gold and Low-Gran at sowing, and then we've seen what's happened through these trial sites, and it's been quite amazing. If you walk from the trial site out into the paddock, the levels of ryegrass and toad rush are still quite high. In the trial sites, the comparisons between control and various chemical applications and the Sakura is remarkably noticeable. So we're quite excited about the potential of using Sakura down the track. We think it'll have a big fit in our paddocks. The other bonus for us with using Sakura is that we can go back into putting dirtier paddocks into a grazing wheat, whereas with our current chemicals, those paddocks have to go to a grain-only system, and that significantly reduces our gross margins. This area produces fantastic results using a grazing variety of wheat. We get high levels of grazing, and then we get similar grain yields in a reasonable season as we do the main season wheats. So Sakura certainly opens the door to us to bring those dirty paddocks back in.